going to give you a little bit more background on poems before I read it. Maybe a little background story will help. This first poem is, a lot of my poems deal with family life, domesticity, raising children, that sort of thing. This first poem is after a conversation with my teenage son who plays Minecraft. Are you all familiar with Minecraft? Yes. Online game, yes. Okay, so this is called Minecraft. And it was a conversation where he was explaining to me the various terms in the game. Putting that through a long filter. Minecraft, 1, crafting. At first, I can't get past the name. The two verbs smelted together, and sometimes the way he says it slips toward Minecraft. He needs wooden planks, wood, also known as logs, and I picture a game of redundancy, also known as doing the same thing over and over, like digging or gluing popsicle sticks together again and again to make a little house. 2, mobs. Everyone plays. He plays with Norway, Japan, Houston. He plays on a friend's server. He finds passive mobs of villagers with a minimal amount of exploration. I slosh a wine glass clean in his kitchen sink, watch him shear square sheep in the screen's green glow. He avoids creepers. Zombie pigmen look like humanoid pigs rotting. Hostile mobs are found in all biomes and dimensions, he tells me. I say, teach me something I don't know. Ender Dragon. The Ender Dragon tries to kill you. He says, a good strategy for fighting the Ender Dragon requires destroying all the healing Ender crystals before trying to attack the dragon, and something about climbing a column, but it's too late. I'm already reading a feminist script. Stand alone at the top of the world. Avoid eye contact. Kill the other. Crush anything that might have healing powers, even if you aren't the one feeling sick. There's a moment that happens in childhood that sometimes we are lucky, maybe unlucky enough to witness, or maybe even remember, but I doubt it. The moment when you realize that you are not the center of the universe. And for most children, it happens pretty young. The moment when you realize as a child, or when a child realizes that they can't control, they are not controlling all of the things around them, that everything that happens around works independently of them. And this poem tries to capture that exact moment. Child, spoiled. At the breakfast restaurant, her father pours the child her own orange juice in a real glass with, careful, it might spill. Reaching for the glass, the child watches a reflected child reaching for her juice. She watches also this jaundiced tumbler that might do something, anything, without her will. Her eyes almost cross, watching the child in the glass, holding tight to keep the glass from spilling. The father's hand drops to dawdle with the edge of a linen napkin, but the child's face creases like a rotting peach, splits into a pained wail. Some diners glare. The father asks if something is pinching. What is it? What is it, baby, sweetheart? The child's fingers turn white, gripping that glass, tears plunking down into the orange juice. Spent pulp drifts to the glass edge like dandelion seeds, wind caught, floating somewhere without her fretful blowing. Floating, perhaps, across some field where listless cows perpetually shuffle and groan without her there to move them. And later, after nap time, when rolled through her neighborhood like a dimpled dowager, it will not be her pointing that barks the lonely puppy. The lonely puppy barks before and after her. The lonely puppy barks and barks. Another kid poem. This is a villanelle. Those of you who are really my little to know what a villanelle and it was published in the Old Red Commode several years ago. And there's a teacher on the Floyd campus, Dr. Applegate, who still uses it in her classroom. When she heard I was doing this today, she said, "You have to read that poem." And it comes from the story. I'll tell you the background story. The background story is when my older son. You know, older kids are sometimes kind of sheltered and naive. I can say that because I was the oldest child. I didn't have older brothers or siblings to tell me certain things, so I had to find out from my friends, and we're sort of at the mercy of your friends. So this child of mine, who's the oldest child, was maybe about 6 or 7, got in a little bit of a bad crowd in first grade. And there was a kid who was a little bit older, a little bit, kind of a bully, but not really. And my sweet little Anderson is wide-eyed and naive. And this kid takes him aside and tries to convince him that he needs to go up to one of the teachers and say the word cuff backwards to the teacher. Say cuff backwards. I dare you to say cuff backwards. And of course the teacher heard this and she was horrified. Anderson didn't do it, but she heard this conversation. She was horrified and she called the other mothers involved, and they were all horrified. And I just thought it was funny. So I wrote a poem about it. The kindness of strangers. Hey kid, promise not to ever say the word I tell you. Stick your finger in your eye. It's cuff backwards. Pretend you never heard. One time when my sister was in the 3rd grade, she said it and it made some dumb kid cry. You'd better promise not to say the word. We dared this boy in church once, a real nerd, to holler it. He was too chicken shit shy for cuff backwards. Pretend you never heard. When you get to high school, even the girls say 8 double snakes and it's cool. No lie. You better promise not to say the word. When you show it on your hands, it's called a bird. Fold your fingers here. Go ahead. Good try. That's cuff backwards. Pretend you never heard. Now we're best friends. No one in the whole world knows I told you. Cross your heart and hope to die. You better promise not to say the word cuff backwards. In fact, pretend you never heard. One of the things that you're required to do as a parent is chaperone field trips. And this is about chaperoning a field trip to Chickamauga Battlefield, and also about those cool words that exist for groups of birds. You know, like a murder of crows, or a parliament of owls, or in this one, an exultation of larks. A group of larks is called an exultation, which is pretty cool. So some of those words are worked into the poem. Reenactment, Chickamauga Battlefield. My circle of kids grows restless. They rustle among pine needles, pocket gray pill bugs like juniper berries. The lecture breezes across their nodding crowns. Chaperones yawn silent o's, miming the old cannon leaning back on heavy wheeled haunches. I watch blackbirds crest over the switchgrass, a dark wave flashing red ribbons, sudden wounds. A flock of jays, a scold, resettles. At the first staging, was there an avian council, a sunset murmuration of starlings, or some noiseless midnight parliament of owls? Is it this overloud murder of crows now that it reenacts a once black wake of buzzards? The old orator's finale, a promised musket shot, wings into the pale bones of pine boughs. Our second graders squeal, skip, release captured grasshoppers like confetti. The children flock to near open spaces, a group of larks, an exaltation. All right, this next one, I've got 3 more. This next one, was inspired by being at an event where it was a kids-related event, again, a kid-related event, and there was somebody there wearing an inappropriate t-shirt. And you've probably had that experience where you are somewhere that is supposed to be a family-friendly event, obviously a family-friendly event, and there is someone who is very pointedly wearing an inappropriate t-shirt. And most of the time, they know they're wearing an inappropriate t-shirt, and what they're wanting is for somebody to confront them on their inappropriate t-shirt, and nobody wants to do that because nobody wants to give them extra attention for what they're doing. It's obviously inappropriate. And this is that. To the dad at the preschool Easter egg hunt, wearing the t-shirt that says, "If you can read this, the bitch fell off." You must know she fell off, because the eyes of the teachers heat your back, the conversational side of your shirt. How thoughtful, how rational to offer this black and white notice to the world. When the bitch falls off, we can alert you just by reading your slumped back. Your daughter in her dotted Swiss pinafore only wants pink eggs. The boy with the snotty nose sorts out yellow jelly beans. The chic mothers look to stand behind chicer mothers, while other fathers, giving their lunch hour, check their wrists and cell phones for any excuse that could release them from this tedium. And you, mon père, have somehow mislaid your bitch. How fortunate to lose something in a place where everyone is already searching. But hey, Pops, each egg here holds a different prize. Plastic car, peanut butter cup, new nickels. Maybe one of these eggs holds a new bitch for you. A tiny, fairy-like bitch, wet, incandescent. You could find that egg and crack it open, maybe with your pocket knife, like tapping a spoon on the sugar shell of a creme brulee. Then your bitch would break into the daylight, squinting and silent. You could hold her up by her tiny legs. You could slap her ass until she spreads her crystalline wings and cries. In my elementary, we talked about ars poetica. What is poetry type poems? And several of them that we read have to do with poetry as work or using certain tools, and that's kind of what this is about. There used to be, on the way to Rome from Cartersville, almost to 411, on the turnoff to Rome, there was this enormous, rambling flea market that went on for blocks. If you've ever, if you went that way, you've seen it. And several years ago, it's not there now, but several years ago, the sign for the place was knives, dolls, angels, tools, come on in. Just very random sort of stuff. Knives, dolls, angels, tools. So that's the name of this one. Knives, dolls, angels, tools. Come on in, begs the sign. And if you skirt the edge of Route 411, crunch over the gravel shoulder and park, leaving those uncooperative lines of poems pounding in the back seat. Wade through a sea of knee-high junk, clay stoves and sinks, step over the rolled salami of pink insulation, turn by the rusted box springs lean-to. You'll see a chain-link fence caging a hulking tractor shell. Make it to the cinder block steps, cracked and settling away from the slant of the shed, and a man named Lamar will tell you how to grow potatoes. Take those old radios, he'll say, stack them yay high, shovel in a barrel full of good black loam. Carve out the eyes of your seed spud and bury them, looking up. When green busts the rim, square your shoulders like a running back, lean into that round tower. Potatoes will come rolling out, none of which you'll do. Just like you won't buy a creepy doll, or a treetop angel, or a mildewed crocheted dress. But there is a knife, a butterfly knife, with its silver wings folded at rest. Pitted with age, with holes and a battered handle, smelling of rain or mottled Greek pennies. It seems useful enough. The sort of tool perfect for slicing through the wet, white moons of those tumbled, tired potatoes. Here you found something you can use. By way of explanation, my husband has spent his career working with animals. He worked at Zoo Atlanta for a while, and then worked in Rome at the Environmental Center. And as a result, I've had the opportunity to hold lots of different almost can't not hold a Cope's gray tree frog. It tucks a palmed cup, a speckled dollop of gray clay, a hole of cold in the dry pocket of your hand. For a baby chick that needs to believe the world is a snug fit and muffled, cave both hands together. The thin eyelid membrane unfurls, pale yellow heart still moth fluttering your thumb. When two orphan raccoons fall asleep in your crossed legs, you become the crotch of their lost tree. They are skeins of chenille yarn, a project you pause for a minute to lean back, look up. Your legs sleep like wood, numb branches. One wet nose slimes your calf like a snail. Support the weight of a boa constrictor with both hands, like an offering. He threads you, following the scent of baby raccoon. He pulls slow stitches around your torso, his prehensile tail lifting the hair from the nape of your neck, tightening the loose edges of you, what you didn't know was frayed. Cradle a lion cub like a human newborn. Look at those tiny paws. Look at those tiny eyelashes. Look at the stutter and jerk of his dreaming eyes. Wonder what he is dreaming. A Chilean rose-haired tarantula makes a moving sidewalk or an Escher painting of your infinite hands. Iridescent filaments trail her like a veil. She is a spidery bride in your sweating palm. Rolling one set of fingers into another, you are all hands. She is all eyes on you. A great horned owlet is slate beak, reptilian feet, and a fluffed explosion in the middle. Murky blue eyes watch the deepening season just over your left shoulder. On the fragile limb of your wrist, his scaled talons clamp over your insistent pulse. His black thorns hold you. Thank you. Are there any questions? This morning, I probably enjoyed